Hello, horror hounds. Welcome to my horror house. Shall we talk about the new Exorcist movie? The teaser trailer came out a couple of days ago, and I resisted the urge to do a reaction video because I'm not very good at them. And I've been mulling it over since then, and guess that there are some things that I maybe want to try and air. I don't want to be completely a negative Nelly, but these are thoughts that I've been having since way before seeing this teaser trailer. In fact, since seeing the Pope's Exorcist, which is fun enough, but I've been mulling over the problem of why, after the Exorcist, which is almost 50 years old, why is it so difficult to make another good possession or exorcism movie? Very similar vein to Jaws coming out a year later. And why has it proved so difficult to make a good shark movie in the wake of Jaws? And I think there's a parallel there between what The Exorcist and Jaws was and what almost all other possession, exorcism and shark movies that came out after these were, and that is story and character. I know it's hard to judge a film based on the teaser trailer. It would have been very easy to judge the promise of a new Exorcist trilogy being attached to the name of director David Gordon Green. Anyway, many opinions vary about what he did with the previous Halloween property, and I'm not going to go there, but this is the first little taster that we've got of what he intends to do with the Exorcist property. I noticed on the day that the teaser trailer was released, it was also releasing information about the sequel to come, Exorcist Deceiver, in 2025. I think stop promising trilogies now. Can we just put a nail in that coffin once and for all? Give us good movies, and if they warrant sequels, make sequels, and I will happily go and see them. Don't promise interconnected universes, and don't promise ready packaged trilogies. Give me a good movie. And what I've seen in the teaser trailer, I'm advertising teaser because I know there might be more in the movie to come. What I've seen in the teaser trailer seems to me to be cynically corporate, almost exactly in the way that he trailed his Halloween 2018 movie, of which I know there are a ton of fans out there. I know that there seem to be an awful lot of people very excited about this new Exorcist movie based on the trailer, but it does seem to me to be ticking a certain number of fan nostalgia boxes to say more that don't worry, fans, this property is in safe hands. I get it. I get what you love about the original. We've got Ellen Burstyn. We've got we're even teasing Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells, and for a real deep cut for you hardcore fans, our trailer is going to reference the so-called banned trailer for The Exorcist, which I urge you to seek it out. It's actually the most terrifying minute or so of anything I've ever seen in my entire life. So what worries me is that the best bits in this trailer are saying, look, we've got Ellen Burstyn back from the original movie. Listen, here's the music that from Tubular Bells that you'll remember from the first movie. And hardcore fans, look here, we've seen that band trailer on YouTube as well, and we're going to do the same thing here for you. What's the story? Where are the characters? I keep circling back to the first movie and Damien Karras, deep in his crisis of faith, asking Lancaster Merrin,
Why this girl? It makes no sense.
And that was the entire heart, the nexus of the movie. Why is this happening? Why are you telling this story now? So we've got, two little girls now possessed. Two girls possessed by the same demon. Oh, okay. Yeah, not something I think I've seen before. You could maybe do something with that. But why? Have you got a reason for that beyond the Jurassic Park Lost World reason, which was if one Tyrannosaurus Rex was cool, two T-Rexes are going to be awesomeness squared. What really had me worried is the demon voice, which is just being modulated through a computer to sound weird.
The body and the blood! The body and the blood! Catherine! The body and the blood!
Not taking into account, I don't care that you've seen the fucking so-called band trailer and are nodding to it. What I worry about more is you don't seem to have put any stock in the superb vocal and voice work that Mercedes McCambridge did in the original movie that made you believe that this strangled, horrible alien voice was coming out of the throat through the vocal cords of this young girl.
Your mother's in here with his cars. Would you like to leave a message? I see that she gets it.
Most possession and exorcism movies in the wake of The Exorcist, I think, fail in the similar way to that most shark movies fail, is that they replicate the pizzazz and miss the story. So we have in a lot of cases, we'll go to doctors and we'll have scans and things like that. We'll have the priest assessing them to see if they're a fit subject for exorcism. Then we have the grand spectacle of the exorcism itself, and we can have the blasphemy and the swearing and the levitation and the body contortion and the person in the bed seemingly being able to read the minds and read the guilt and sins of the people in the room. But the why of it, going back to Damien Karras's question, the why of it is always absent. In the same way with the shark movies, we have people on boats, people in the water, and we set up various different shark attacks, and that's the Ritz and the razzmatazz. But we don't have the political stress that Martin Brody is feeling on land. We don't have the real sense of lived-in community and characters, and we don't go out on the water with three amazing actors creating three completely well-rounded, completely different characters that then all rub and butt up against one another in essentially acting masterclasses. The story of Jaws is not the shark attacks, and the story of The Exorcist is not the possession of a little girl. These are the plots. They're not what the films are about. Most films that followed them, that tried to do the same thing, replicated the plots rather than having anything to say, rather than being about anything. And if you want to narrow that beam down and talk about specifically things in the Exorcist franchise, there have been two good movies, and both of them have a commonality, and that is William Peter Blatty. The man who created The Exorcist, the man who wrote the novel, who wrote the sequel novel Legion, who wrote the screenplay for The Exorcist and wrote the screenplay and directed Exorcist 3, what he wanted to call Legion, but was forced to name Exorcist 3. And he had a story to tell. He had his own personal crisis of faith that he was wrestling with. These theological and theosophical musings that he wanted to try and understand how his beliefs align with the sometimes exceedingly brutal and ugly reality of living in flesh and blood. We're told we're blessed, we're part of some divine plan, when everything around us can sometimes seem to be horror and disease and filth and evil. And the young William Blatty, I believe I'm right in remembering, conceived of the notion for the story when he heard read an article about an exorcism being performed on a young boy, and he thought that, wow, if there are proofs that the church need before they can perform an exorcism, if there are proofs of possession, then it follows that there are proofs of the existence of demons, and if you can prove the existence of evil, that goes an awfully long way that's a huge piece of the jigsaw puzzle to finding a proof for the existence of this ineffable thing that we're told to just have faith. And for a lot of people, faith just isn't enough, and he wanted more. And I love the way in his stories, the way evil exerts itself in a manifest way in our flesh and blood world, provides a back door for our struggling characters to find their way into some kind of grace and some kind of light. There's a beautiful poetry to Blatty's stories, and they're about something, and none of the other films in that series are about something. Some of them are outright bad, and some of them are quite good. I think Paul Schrader's Dominion prequel to The Exorcist is interesting. It is slightly ham-fistedly exploring some ideas. There are ideas there that align themselves to the... I think I'm right in saying that Schrader himself is an old Catholic boy. Forgive me if I'm wrong on that score, but at least it is playing in a similar sandpit. And I would be interested to see if David Gordon Green's films are about something other than just resurrecting this franchise and having some sort of nostalgia touchstones along the way. It's lovely to see Ellen Burstyn back. Exorcist TV series did something similar with that character already, although down a cynical path, which I found kind of more believable than what they seem to be saying now, which is that Chris McNeil now is the Exorcist, the source of help in this movie, and that the Catholic rite of exorcism is not the only one. So every culture around the world has its own rite of exorcism, and we're going to, gosh darn it, we're going to use all of them now. We're going to Avengers Endgame all the exorcism rites from every culture around the globe. There was one bit in the trailer that I did like, which was the demon meeting Chris McNeil again and calling her mother. You don't need to have levitation, and you don't need to have contortion. If you have a good demon who can fuck with characters, and you have a story you want to tell with those characters, that would be an interesting story if you just take the demon out of it. So, for example, with The Exorcist, a young priest who is also a psychiatrist, so he has one foot in science and one foot in the church, who is struggling with his faith. Fantastic. That's a story all of its own. A Hollywood mother struggling to be a single parent whilst moving from place to place, also trying to raise her daughter. That's interesting. There are stories there to tell. You just throw the possession in and shake it all up, and you've got The Exorcist. But you have rounded characters whose lives, without the intercession of that demon, would go on, and there would be stories of interest to tell there. I worry that this new Exorcist is going to be a bit of a empty bottle with the wind blowing across the top of it, making a whistling noise, rather than having anything of note to say itself. But time will tell. But I'm not seeing a story, and that's a problem. What I'm seeing is the promise of 3 movies.
I bid you welcome.
I welcome you to my house.
Welcome to my house.
Welcome to my home.